Hi there, Prescott Valley residents. My name is Lori Hunt and I'm your Vice Mayor, and I am happy to be here today on Council Chat with my friend Bert Hunt. No relation, although I'd claim him, is what I'd like to say. Bert is the director of House of Hope 316 in Prescott Valley. So Bert, I learned from your website that there's a growing epidemic in our country. Elderly women and men are becoming homeless at an alarming rate. Many sleep in their cars or anywhere they can simply because of limited income. Others have a home, but they live alone in an unsafe way. Some get help from the government or family, many don't. This is beyond sad. So Bert, the House of Hope is in Prescott Valley. It was opened in 2019, and then a second home opened last year. Is that correct?
Yes.
So tell me about the journey to open House of Hope and why you did it.
I will, thank you. It's been an amazing 4 years actually. When I met a man named Don who was sleeping in his car, homeless, he could barely walk, he had to have a walker. And at one time he had actually in his younger years been a sparring partner for Rocky Marciano, the heavyweight champion of the world. And now he was in his 80s, out of money and nowhere to live. Very sad, very tragic. And I promised him that we would help him find a place to live. He started to cry. Within a day, he had a place to live. And we began to realize and started doing some research how many people in the latter years become homeless. Never planned to. They worked their whole lives. They've raised families, never thought they would be homeless. And here they are. So some friends joined me. We thought there's surely a way we can help. We started to meet about every 2 weeks to pray about what if God let us be the ones to help open some places for elderly homeless people to live, or people soon to be homeless if they're losing their place to live. And as you said, the first house opened in 2019, second one last year, and we can house up to 15 people at any one time. I believe since we started, we've had over 30 that have lived for varying periods of time. It is an independent living facility. We don't provide any medical care. And no one is turned away for financial reasons. So it's been quite an amazing journey. These people have become part of my family. And it's nice to be able to give a house to someone who doesn't have it and food to somebody who's hungry. So that's what we do.
And there's some couples too, right?
There's couples. There's a married couple that was actually celebrated their 46th wedding anniversary, homeless, living in their van, and she's in a wheelchair. They joined us about 2 years ago. And what's unique about this, the ministry model is unique. The people live together as family and watch out for each other and care about each other. They help with daily chores so we don't have to hire as much staff, and because it's their home. And the business model is rather unique, I believe, from talking to others. Because they have some income, those that can pay a little bit of rent, that covers about 40% of our bills. The rest comes from donations. We're a 501c3 nonprofit and an Arizona tax credit qualifying charitable corporation. And so we don't need as much donations as most homeless shelters. And these people will probably, many of them will live with us the rest of their lives if they're physically able to live in an independent facility. We do provide, I should mention, the staff prepare and serve all the meals, do all the cleaning, do all the cooking. And some rooms are semi-private, some are private. And it's been a fun, easy journey because a lot of people have come on board to help us.
Great. So I was recently, thank you for the invite by the way, at your appreciation lunch for donors, and we heard from two residents, Janet and Barbara, and I think I remember correctly that Barbara has taken on responsibilities in the home like cooking and cleaning as a volunteer. This, like you just said, kind of sounds like a real family environment. So do you have anything else to add on that part?
No, we're fortunate with the residents that have their food handler's card and part of our official staff. Some get minimum wage for part-time hours just to give them a little bit of spending money. Most of them are volunteers. Some are physically unable to do anything. So they make my part of it pretty easy.
So what's the length of stay for a resident, and why would a resident leave?
Some leave to reconnect with their family and get into a more independent home, which is nice if they can do that. That's rare. Most of them leave because they can no longer safely live in an independent home. They need assisted care to be safe, and so we help them get into it assisted. I got a call right before we arrived here today of someone who just left to go into assisted care because it was not safe for her to live with us any longer.
So, I know House of Hope 316 has so many success stories, and I got to hear a few of them. Briefly, what is one of your favorite success stories?
It's hard to pick one, but I think it would be Irma. When I got a call about 2.5, almost 3 years ago, she had just been released from the hospital after heart surgery. She could barely walk. She was so weak. She was released to go to a hotel. Her money was running out. I believe she told me she had enough for 1 or 2 more days and she would have been homeless on the street. She probably stood no more than 5 feet tall with her oxygen machine behind her on wheels, and she was scared. She was thinking of suicide because she thought she was going to end up homeless. And I got a call. We met with her, took her through the intake process. Within a few days, she was living with us, and she's an Italian who loves cooking. She became part of our cooking staff and was a wonderful part of our family. After about a year, she reconnected with her family, moved back to California. She's been there ever since. And it's nice. It's nice to be able to offer a home to people, but we realize no one really wants to live in a group home if they don't have to. But it's not an institutional home. It's a home. It's a duplex where we rent both sides, and then a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house where we rent that house. We don't own any property yet. We believe that's one of the next steps for us. So Irma lived with us for a while, served a meaningful purpose for us, and was a wonderful addition to our home. And then she moved back home.
So remind me about the story of the lady who I think went back east to be with family, and now she sends you money to support House of Hope?
A little bit different. Yes, you've got a good memory. She was someone that we met who was homeless on the streets before we had the House of Hope. And our ministry, H10 Ministries, has been a nonprofit helping those that are homeless in critical situations for over 15 years. She was working 2 jobs. She got hurt, could no longer work, had no place to go, was living in her truck for a while, then somebody stole her truck.
Oh my goodness.
And she started camping out in the woods, and we tried for a month or 2 to convince her, let us help you get into a place of your own, and she kept refusing. It said she could do it on her own. She was saving money, but she finally accepted. We just helped with deposits to get in the first couple of months' rent until she got back on her feet. She got hurt again a year later, had to quit work again. We needed to help again. But she's been completely independent and on her own, self-sufficient for probably 4 years now. And every now and then she sends us money to help somebody else. Very nice.
Let's talk a little bit about budget. You mentioned it. What's your operating budget and where does the money come from? I know you said 40% kind of from residents help.
The monthly budget's a little over $13,000 a month, and more than half comes from donations from friends of ours that knows what we're doing. They know that they want to be a part of it. They want to help us keep the doors open. We're never quite sure exactly where it's coming from. We opened this with going into it knowing there'd be a monthly deficit, but also knowing that God cares about people that are in trouble. And if He wanted us to do this, and we felt He did, He would provide for it, and He has through people that I didn't even know 4 years ago. And the budget gets tight a little bit every now and then, but then more money comes in, and we have a plan to tell our story and invite more people to join us as prayer partners and financial partners. And until then, we rely upon Him, and that has worked well for years.
Awesome. So your website again is h10ministries.com, and that you said, but I'm going to say it again because it's important, you're a 501c3 nonprofit corporation and you qualify for qualified charitable organization for Arizona tax credits. So I'm of the opinion, why send your money down to Phoenix when you could keep your tax requirements here
I would agree with
and
that.
contribute to somebody like House of Hope.
And also, obviously, what we send to the government is used to help us in a lot of ways, but this way a person can direct where they want their money to go through the tax credit. If they pay Arizona state tax, and if they don't, we'll accept checks if they can't write it off. And so it's a wonderful thing that's available to us here in Arizona. And
I think it's
we
fabulous.
are now a qualifying organization for the second year, and it's been a help to our fundraising.
Great. So how can our Sparklight and social media viewers help this very worthy cause in Prescott Valley?
We're always looking for people, as I said earlier, this sounds like a churchy answer, and we're not a church. Anybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome if they're of the age and of the need for a home and if they can live independently. But prayer is our biggest need, particularly as we're looking towards our own building so that we can help more people and not have to pay rent every month for our own facility, which is about 40% of our budget also. And we've got people starting to sit around the table and talk about how we can make that happen. Finances are obviously a part of this to keep the lights on and keep food on the table. And there's room for volunteers to help be a part of this and be a part of the lives of the people here that are very, very sweet people who just found themselves in a bad situation.
That happens. So Bert, tell us your address.
Regarding...
If I want to write you a check when I
okay.
get home, where do I mail it to?
It's P.O. Box 26758, Prescott Valley, Arizona 86312. Now we call ourselves House of Hope 316. That's just the name of the building. The actual corporate name, the one that checks are written to, is H10 Ministries. That's capital H with a number 10 after it, Ministries. And that's the 501c3 nonprofit.
Great. So if people want to reach out to you, can you give us your email and your phone number?
I can do that. And also they can do that on the website that you mentioned, which is h10ministries.com. My email address is acts2024, my initials BH@AOL.com. And feel free to call me or text me on my phone, 602-390-1542.
So you mentioned a desire to own the two properties. What about house number 3? What's the priorities? What's the next steps?
I think my guess is that it will be owning our own building, not the two that we're renting now.
Okay.
Something bigger that can house more people that would be ours. And there's another wrinkle to that that's been presented to me in the last week or two that I'd love to share with you next time we get together if it looks like it might become a reality, which would also complement this same thing of helping the elderly. And also, it's important, I think, it's more than just a room and a meal. People need more than just to eat and to be safe, but they need that first. They need to know that somebody cares about them. They're part of a family, that they have a purpose in life, more than just watching TV until they die. And so that's part of what we do here also.
My daughter's convinced people need 10 hugs a day. So
wouldn't that be great?
Yeah. Anything else to add?
No, I just want to say thank you to the people who have already helped make this possible and make what I do very easy, because they've joined us to become partners. And we have continued to grow as the need continues to grow. I'm meeting tomorrow morning with someone that I talked to today on the phone that's living in her car, but now her car's broken down and she doesn't know what she's going to do. She has nowhere to go.
Do you have an opening?
If not, we'll try to find something else for her. We don't have an immediate opening, but we might soon. And until then, we'll try to help her find a safe place to stay until we can bring her in to our home if she qualifies and if it's a good fit for her and for us.
Okay. So Prescott Valley, if you have a little extra change in your pocket and you want to help seniors get full-time living, please consider House of Hope 316, h10ministries.com, and thank you for tuning in to Council Chat. Thanks,
Thank
Bert.
you.